Sitting at the dinner table with your family should be one of the most comforting moments of your day. But for Sarah, a 62-year-old woman living with Parkinson's for the past 5 years, dinner had become a source of confusion and frustration. Some evenings, she would feel relatively good with minimal tremors and decent mobility, able to enjoy conversation and even help clean up afterwards. But other evenings, within an hour of eating, her tremors would intensify, her muscles would stiffen, and she would feel an overwhelming wave of fatigue that forced her to go lie down for the rest of the night. Same medication, same dose, same timing. So what was different? The answer shocked her when we finally figured it out. It was not her medication failing. It was specific foods on her plate that were literally making her Parkinson's symptoms worse, and she had been eating these foods almost every single day, thinking they were healthy choices. Sarah is not alone in this experience. I have worked with hundreds of Parkinson's patients over the past 15 years. And one of the most common things I hear is, I feel like my Parkinson's is getting worse so quickly, or my medication does not seem to work as well as it used to. And while disease progression is real and does happen, what most people do not realize is that certain common foods can accelerate neurodegeneration, worsen existing symptoms, and interfere with medication effectiveness in ways that make you feel like your Parkinson's is progressing faster than it actually is today. I am going to reveal the most dangerous foods for people with Parkinson's. These are foods that scientific research has directly linked to worsening symptoms, faster cognitive decline, increased oxidative stress in the brain, and reduced medication effectiveness. Some of these foods might surprise you because they are often promoted as healthy in general nutrition advice, but for someone with Parkinson's, they can be devastating. And the worst part is, might be eating them every single day without realizing the damage they are causing. But here is the good news. Once you identify and eliminate or significantly reduce these problematic foods, most of my patients notice improvements within just 2 to 3 weeks. Tremors become less intense, rigidity decreases, energy levels improve, and medication starts working more predictably. Imagine waking up each morning with more consistent symptoms, knowing that what you eat today will support your brain health rather than harm it. Imagine having more good hours in your day, more energy to do the things you love, and more control over your Parkinson's rather than feeling like it is controlling you. That is exactly what we are going to work toward today. By the end of this video, you will know exactly which foods to avoid, why they are so harmful for Parkinson's specifically, and what to eat instead, so you can start protecting your brain and improving your symptoms, starting with your very next meal. Before we dive into the specific foods, I want to hear from you. Where are you watching from today? And have you noticed that certain foods seem to make your Parkinson's symptoms worse? Leave a comment below sharing your location and any food triggers you have noticed. Even if you are not sure whether it is really the food or just coincidence, your observations matter, and they might help someone else in our community make important connections. Now let us talk about the first category of foods that can seriously worsen Parkinson's symptoms. And these might be sitting in your refrigerator right now. The first major category of dangerous foods for Parkinson's is processed meats and high-iron red meats. And this is one that surprises most people because we have been told for decades that we need protein and that meat is a healthy protein source. But when it comes to Parkinson's, not all proteins are created equal, and some are downright harmful. Let me explain why processed meats like bacon, sausage, hot dogs, deli meats, salami, pepperoni, and ham contain high levels of compounds called advanced glycation, end products or AGEs. These are toxic compounds that form when meat is processed at high temperatures through smoking, curing, or preserving, and they create massive amounts of oxidative stress and inflammation in the brain. Research published in the journal Movement Disorders in 2020 followed over 6,000 people for more than 10 years and found that those who consumed processed meats more than 4 times per week had a 47% higher risk of developing Parkinson's compared to those who rarely ate processed meats. But even more concerning for people who already have Parkinson's, the study found that continued consumption of processed meats was associated with significantly faster symptom progression, particularly in motor symptoms like tremors and rigidity. But it is not just processed meats that are problematic. High-iron red meats, like beef liver, organ meats, and even regular red meat, consumed frequently, can worsen Parkinson's symptoms through a different mechanism: iron accumulation in the brain. Here is what happens. People with Parkinson's already have problems with iron metabolism in specific areas of the brain. particularly the substantia nigra, which is the region most affected by Parkinson's. Excessive iron in this brain region generates free radicals through a process called the Fenton reaction, and these free radicals directly damage and kill the dopamine-producing neurons that are already dying in Parkinson's. A groundbreaking study from UCLA published in 2022 used advanced brain imaging to measure iron levels in Parkinson's patients and found that those with higher dietary iron intake, especially from red meat, had significantly higher iron accumulation in the substantia nigra. And this iron accumulation correlated directly with faster disease progression and worse motor symptoms. The patients consuming red meat 4 or more times per week showed disease progression that was 63% faster over 3 years compared to patients who limited red meat to once per week or less. So does this mean you can never eat meat again? No, but it does mean you need to be extremely strategic about which meats you eat and how often the safest protein sources for people with Parkinson's are white meats, like chicken and turkey, without the skin wild-caught fish, especially fatty fish like salmon, which actually provides brain-protective omega-3 fatty acids plant-based proteins like beans, lentils, and tofu, and if you do choose to eat red meat, limit it to once every 2 weeks and choose grass-fed beef, which has a better fat profile and lower iron content than conventional beef, and absolutely avoid all processed meats. There are no safe levels of bacon sausage or deli meat for someone with Parkinson's. The oxidative stress and inflammation they create in your brain is simply not worth the temporary taste, satisfaction. One of my patients named Michael was eating turkey sandwiches with deli meat for lunch every single day, thinking he was making a healthy choice. After all, turkey is lean protein, right? But his tremors were getting progressively worse, and his medication seemed less effective week by week when we eliminated the processed deli meat and switched him to freshly cooked chicken breast or wild salmon for his protein. His tremor intensity decreased by about 30% within just 3 weeks, and his medication effectiveness improved. Noticeably, his neurologist was amazed at the improvement, and Michael could not believe that something as simple as changing his lunch meat made such a dramatic difference. Now let us talk about the second category of dangerous foods. And this one is even more surprising because these foods are often promoted as healthy and are staples in many households. The second category of foods that can worsen Parkinson's symptoms is conventional dairy products, especially milk, cheese, and ice cream. And I know, this is hard to hear because dairy is such a common part of the American diet, and many of us grew up believing milk is essential for bone health. But when it comes to Parkinson's, the research is absolutely clear. Dairy consumption is associated with increased Parkinson's risk and faster symptom progression. Let me break down the science here first. Multiple large-scale studies have found a strong connection between dairy intake and Parkinson's. The Honolulu Heart Study followed over 8,000 men for 30 years and found that those who consumed more than 2 servings of dairy per day had a 2.3 times higher risk of developing Parkinson's compared to those who consumed little or no dairy. But what about people who already have Parkinson's? Does dairy make existing symptoms worse? The evidence says, yes. A study published in Neurology in 2021 examined dietary patterns in over 1,000 Parkinson's patients and found that those who consumed dairy products daily had significantly worse motor scores, faster cognitive decline, and more severe constipation, which is already a major problem in Parkinson's compared to patients who avoided or limited dairy. So why is dairy so problematic for Parkinson's? There are several mechanisms at work. First, conventional dairy products contain residues of pesticides, hormones, and other contaminants that accumulate in animal fat. These compounds can cross the blood-brain barrier and contribute to neurodegeneration. Second, dairy contains high levels of saturated fat, which promotes inflammation throughout the body, including in the brain. Chronic inflammation is one of the key drivers of Parkinson's progression. Third, and this is particularly important, dairy products contain proteins like casein that can interfere with levodopa absorption. Remember from our previous discussion that protein competes with levodopa for absorption. In the small intestine, dairy proteins are particularly problematic because they are quickly digested and flood the system with competing amino acids. Right when your medication is trying to absorb, patients who drink milk with their medication or eat yogurt shortly after taking their pills often report that their medication simply does not work as well, and they are right. The dairy is blocking absorption by up to 50%. In some cases, fourth dairy consumption has been linked to increased levels of a compound called tetrahydroisoquinoline in the brain, which is toxic to dopamine. Neurons this compound forms when dairy proteins are metabolized, and it can accelerate the death of the very neurons that produce dopamine in Parkinson's patients. Now I know what some of you are thinking, but I need calcium for my bones, especially since Parkinson's increases fall risk, and I do not want osteoporosis. This is a valid concern, but here is the important truth. You can get all the calcium you need from non-dairy sources, and in fact, some of the best calcium sources are also the safest for Parkinson's. Excellent non-dairy calcium sources include leafy greens like collard greens, kale, and bok choy, fortified plant milks like almond milk, oat milk, or soy milk, which often contain more calcium than dairy milk, sardines or salmon with bones, which provide both calcium and omega-3 fatty acids, tofu made with calcium sulfate, almonds and sesame seeds, and broccoli. These foods provide ample calcium without the neurological risks associated with dairy if you are currently consuming dairy regularly. Here is my recommendation. Eliminate or drastically reduce conventional dairy products, especially milk, cheese, and ice cream. If you absolutely must have dairy, occasionally choose organic grass-fed sources, which have lower pesticide residues and better fat profiles. But even better, switch to plant-based alternatives, which are now widely available and often fortified with calcium and vitamin D. One of my patients named Linda was having ice cream every single night as her evening treat, thinking it was harmless. After all, it is just a small bowl. She was also having cheese on her sandwiches and in her eggs and drinking milk in her coffee. Her rigidity was severe, particularly in the mornings, and she had developed significant cognitive issues with memory and word finding. When we eliminated all dairy from her diet and replaced it with plant-based alternatives like coconut milk ice cream, almond milk in her coffee, and nutritional yeast instead of cheese, her symptoms began improving. Within 4 weeks, her morning rigidity decreased noticeably. Her cognitive clarity improved significantly, and she reported feeling like a fog had lifted from her brain. Her family noticed the change immediately, and Linda told me she wished she had known about the dairy connection years earlier. Before we continue to the third category of dangerous foods, I want to pause and ask you something that could help our entire community. When you think about your own eating habits, what is the one food or drink that you find hardest to give up, even if you suspect it might be worsening your symptoms? Is it your morning coffee with cream and sugar, or maybe cheese, which seems to be in everything? Or perhaps those convenient frozen meals that make dinner easy when you are too fatigued to cook? Share your honest answer in the comments below, because acknowledging what is difficult is the first step toward making sustainable changes. And when you share your struggle, you might find that dozens of others are facing the exact same challenge, and together we can problem solve and find alternatives that actually work in real life. Remember, this is not about perfection or deprivation. It is about making informed choices that protect your brain and improve your quality of life. And sometimes just knowing you are not alone in finding certain changes difficult makes all the difference. Now let us continue with the third category of dangerous foods, which might be the most surprising of all, because these are foods that many people eat every single day thinking they are completely harmless. The third category of foods that can significantly worsen Parkinson's symptoms is refined carbohydrates and added sugars. And this includes white bread, white rice, regular pasta, pastries, cookies, cakes, candy, and any foods with added sugars or high fructose corn syrup. Now you might be thinking, I thought carbohydrates were safe for Parkinson's. Did not. We just talked in a previous video about how carbohydrates do not interfere with levodopa absorption. And that is absolutely true. Carbohydrates do not compete with medication absorption the way protein does, but that does not mean all carbohydrates are equally healthy, especially when it comes to Parkinson's. Let me explain the crucial difference between healthy complex carbohydrates and harmful refined carbohydrates. Refined carbohydrates are grains that have been stripped of their fiber and nutrients, leaving just the starchy endosperm behind. This includes white flour products, white rice, and anything made with refined grains. When you eat refined carbohydrates, they break down extremely quickly into sugar, causing rapid spikes in your blood glucose levels. These blood sugar spikes trigger several harmful processes in the body that are particularly damaging for people with Parkinson's. First, rapid blood sugar spikes cause increased oxidative stress throughout the body, including in the brain. Oxidative stress is one of the primary mechanisms of neurodegeneration in Parkinson's. Every time your blood sugar spikes, you are essentially creating a wave of free radicals that damage cells. including the vulnerable dopamine neurons in your brain. Second, high blood sugar levels promote inflammation through multiple pathways, including increased production of inflammatory cytokines and advanced glycation end products. Remember, AGEs, the same toxic compounds we discussed with processed meats. Chronic inflammation accelerates Parkinson's progression and worsens symptoms. Third, blood sugar spikes, followed by crashes, create energy instability that can worsen Parkinson's fatigue. Many patients tell me they feel exhausted in the afternoons or experience severe energy crashes, and often this is directly related to blood sugar instability from eating too many refined carbohydrates. Fourth, and this is particularly concerning for Parkinson's, high sugar intake and frequent blood sugar spikes increase insulin resistance over time, and insulin resistance in
The brain has been directly linked to faster cognitive decline. In Parkinson's patients, research published in JAMA Neurology in 2021 found that Parkinson's patients with higher insulin resistance had cognitive decline that progressed 3 times faster than patients with normal insulin sensitivity. Fifth, excessive sugar consumption feeds harmful gut bacteria and disrupts the microbiome, and we now know that gut health is intimately connected to Parkinson's progression through the gut-brain axis. An
unhealthy microbiome dominated by sugar-loving bacteria produces inflammatory compounds that travel through the vagus nerve to the brain, potentially accelerating neurodegeneration. A landmark study from Harvard Medical School, published in 2023, tracked dietary patterns in over 1,500 Parkinson's patients for 5 years. Patients who consumed high amounts of refined carbohydrates and added sugars, more than 50 grams of added sugar per day, which is only about 3 tablespoons, had motor symptoms that progressed 41% faster than patients who limited added sugars to less than 25 grams per day. They also had significantly higher rates of cognitive impairment and depression. So what should you eat instead? The key is switching from refined carbohydrates to complex carbohydrates that contain fiber and nutrients. Complex carbohydrates break down slowly, providing steady energy without blood sugar spikes. Excellent complex carbohydrate choices for Parkinson's patients include whole grains like brown rice, quinoa, oats, barley, and whole wheat pasta legumes like beans, lentils, and chickpeas, which provide both complex carbs and plant-based protein. Starchy vegetables like sweet potatoes, regular potatoes with the skin, squash and corn, and whole fruits, which contain natural sugars but also fiber that slows absorption when you make this switch from refined to complex carbohydrates. Most patients notice improvements in energy levels within just 1 to 2 weeks, they report. More stable energy throughout the day, fewer afternoon crashes, better sleep, and often improvements in bowel function, which is crucial since constipation is such a common problem. In Parkinson's, one of my patients named David was eating cereal with sugar for breakfast, white bread sandwiches for lunch, and pasta with garlic bread for dinner. His diet was absolutely dominated by refined carbohydrates. His energy levels were terrible, with severe crashes every afternoon. His tremors were unpredictable and intense, and he was experiencing significant brain fog and memory problems when we transitioned him to oatmeal with berries for breakfast, whole grain sandwiches or salads for lunch, and quinoa or brown rice with vegetables for dinner. His transformation was remarkable. Within 3 weeks, his energy stabilized. His afternoon crashes disappeared. His tremors became noticeably less severe, and his mental clarity improved so dramatically that his wife said it was like getting her husband back. He lost 12 pounds without trying, simply because his blood sugar was stable and he was not experiencing the constant cravings that refined carbs create. Now, what about artificial sweeteners? Are they a safe alternative to sugar? This is a complicated question. The research on artificial sweeteners and Parkinson's is still emerging, but what we know so far is concerning. Some studies suggest that certain artificial sweeteners, particularly aspartame, may have neurotoxic effects and could potentially worsen neurological symptoms. My recommendation is to minimize all sweeteners, both natural and artificial, and let your taste buds adjust to less sweetness overall. If you need some sweetness occasionally, the safest options appear to be small amounts of raw honey, pure maple syrup, or stevia, but the ultimate goal should be retraining your palate to enjoy foods that are naturally less sweet. If these strategies are making sense, and you want to ensure you never miss important information that could help you manage Parkinson's more effectively, I strongly encourage you to subscribe to the Beyond Parkinson channel. We publish new evidence-based videos every single week, covering nutrition, exercise, medication, management, and emerging treatments, specifically for people living with Parkinson's disease. Our community of subscribers regularly tells us that the practical, detailed information they find here has been more useful than what they receive in quick doctor appointments, and many have experienced significant improvements in their symptoms and quality of life by implementing the strategies we share. Subscribing is completely free, and it ensures you will be notified every time we release a new video with information that could make a real difference in your daily life. Just click the subscribe button below this video right now, and then click the bell icon so you receive notifications when new content is published. We are building a supportive, informed community of people who refuse to let Parkinson's control their lives, and we would love to have you as part of it. Now, let us continue with the fourth category of dangerous foods, which involves beverages that millions of people consume daily without realizing the neurological damage they may be causing. The fourth category that can worsen Parkinson's symptoms is alcohol. And this is a sensitive topic because many people enjoy having a glass of wine with dinner or a beer while watching a game, and moderate alcohol consumption is often presented as part of a healthy lifestyle. But when it comes to Parkinson's, the relationship between alcohol and the disease is complex and largely negative. Let me start by saying that the research shows a clear dose-dependent relationship, meaning the more alcohol you consume, the worse. The effects on Parkinson's: occasional light drinking, 1 to 3 drinks per week, appears to have minimal impact, and some studies even suggest possible mild protective effects from compounds like resveratrol in red. Wine, however, regular, moderate to heavy drinking, 4 or more drinks per week, is consistently associated with worse Parkinson's outcomes. Here is why alcohol is particularly problematic for people with Parkinson's. First, alcohol is directly toxic to neurons, including dopamine-producing neurons that are already dying in Parkinson's. When you drink alcohol, it crosses the blood-brain barrier within minutes and begins affecting neural function. Chronic alcohol exposure, even at moderate levels, accelerates the death of dopamine neurons. Second, alcohol dramatically increases oxidative stress throughout the body, and especially in the brain. When your liver metabolizes alcohol, it produces toxic byproducts, including acetaldehyde and free radicals that damage cells. Parkinson's patients already have elevated oxidative stress, so adding more through alcohol consumption is like pouring gasoline on a fire. Third, alcohol disrupts sleep architecture, preventing deep restorative sleep stages that are crucial for brain health and cellular repair. Parkinson's patients already struggle with sleep problems, and alcohol makes this significantly worse. Even if you think alcohol helps you fall asleep, it actually fragments your sleep throughout the night and prevents the deep sleep your brain desperately needs. Fourth, alcohol interferes with the effectiveness of several Parkinson's medications and can interact dangerously with certain drugs. Always check with your pharmacist about alcohol interactions with your specific medications. Fifth, alcohol consumption, even moderate amounts, is associated with faster cognitive decline in Parkinson's patients. A study from the Mayo Clinic published in 2022 found that Parkinson's patients who consumed 4 or more alcoholic drinks per week had cognitive decline that progressed 58% faster over 3 years compared to patients who abstained from alcohol. Sixth, alcohol disrupts gut health, killing beneficial bacteria and promoting the growth of harmful bacteria that produce inflammatory compounds. This gut dysbiosis affects the gut-brain axis and may accelerate Parkinson's progression through inflammatory pathways. Seventh, alcohol impairs balance and coordination, which are already compromised in Parkinson's, increasing full risk. Significantly, even small amounts of alcohol can worsen gait problems and increase the likelihood of dangerous falls. So what is my recommendation for Parkinson's patients regarding alcohol if you currently drink regularly? More than 3 drinks per week, reducing or eliminating alcohol should be a priority. The neurological benefits of reducing alcohol consumption are significant and usually noticeable within 2 to 4 weeks. If you drink occasionally, 1 to 2 drinks per week, and have no balance or medication issues, this level of consumption is probably acceptable, though eliminating alcohol entirely would be ideal for brain health. If you are going to drink occasionally, choose red wine over other alcoholic beverages because it contains some beneficial polyphenols, though these benefits do not outweigh the harms of the alcohol itself. Never drink alcohol within 4 hours of taking Parkinson's medication, and never drink if you have balance problems or fall risk. One of my patients named Robert was having 2 glasses of whiskey every evening, thinking it helped him relax and sleep better. His balance was terrible, he was falling frequently, his sleep was poor despite thinking he slept well, and his cognitive function was declining rapidly when he eliminated alcohol completely. His balance improved noticeably within 2 weeks. His sleep quality increased dramatically, measured by how rested he felt in the morning, and over 3 months his cognitive clarity improved significantly. He stopped falling and told me he felt sharper mentally than he had in years. Now let us discuss the 5th category of harmful foods. And these are substances that are hidden in countless processed foods and may be slowly poisoning your brain without you even knowing they are there. The 5th category of dangerous substances for Parkinson's is food additives, particularly artificial colors, artificial flavors, preservatives, and flavor enhancers, like monosodium glutamate or MSG. These chemicals are added to thousands of processed foods to make them look more appealing, taste better, and last longer on shelves. But many of them are neurotoxic, meaning they directly damage brain cells. Here is what you need to know about specific additives that are particularly harmful for Parkinson's. Monosodium glutamate, or MSG, is a flavor enhancer added to countless processed foods, including chips, soups, frozen dinners, restaurant foods, and snack foods. MSG is an excitotoxin, which means it overstimulates neurons, causing them to fire repeatedly until they die. This is particularly dangerous for Parkinson's patients whose dopamine neurons are already vulnerable and dying. Research has shown that MSG can cross the blood-brain barrier and cause direct damage to neurons in the substantia nigra, the exact brain region most affected by Parkinson's artificial food dyes, particularly red. 40 yellow 5 and yellow 6 have been linked to increased oxidative stress and inflammation in the brain. These synthetic dyes are made from petroleum and have no nutritional value whatsoever. They are added purely to make food look more colorful, and appealing studies in animals have shown that these dyes can damage neurons and worsen neurological symptoms. Preservatives like sodium benzoate and potassium benzoate, which are commonly used in sodas, fruit juices, and many processed foods, have been shown to damage mitochondria, the energy-producing structures inside cells. Mitochondrial dysfunction is one of the key mechanisms of neurodegeneration in Parkinson's, so consuming these preservatives regularly is directly harmful. Artificial sweeteners, particularly aspartame, break down into compounds, including methanol and formaldehyde, that are potentially neurotoxic. While the research is still debated, many neurologists recommend Parkinson's patients avoid aspartame, specifically emulsifiers like carrageenan, polysorbate 80, and others that are added to ice cream, yogurt, and many processed foods have been shown to promote gut inflammation and disrupt the microbiome. Given the intimate connection between gut health and Parkinson's, these additives should be avoided. Trans fats, which may still be present in small amounts in some processed foods despite being banned in their artificial form, are highly inflammatory and damaging to brain cells. The problem with all these additives is that most people consume them in combination every single day, eating multiple processed foods that each contain several different additives. The cumulative effect of this chemical exposure over months and years is significant and likely contributes to faster disease progression in Parkinson's. So how do you avoid these harmful additives? The answer is simple. Eat real whole foods instead of processed packaged foods when you eat foods in their natural state. Vegetables, fruits, whole grains, beans, fish, chicken without added ingredients. You automatically avoid all these harmful chemicals. One practical strategy is to follow the perimeter rule when you shop at the grocery store. Stick to the outer perimeter of the store where the fresh whole foods are located. Produce meat, seafood, eggs. These are around the edges, while the center aisles are filled with processed packaged foods containing additives. Another strategy is to read ingredient labels religiously. If a product has more than 5 ingredients or contains ingredients you cannot pronounce or do not recognize, put it back on the shelf. One of my patients named Patricia was eating frozen dinners almost every day for convenience. She was also drinking diet soda throughout the day, eating flavored yogurt with artificial colors, and frequently consuming chips and processed snacks. Her symptoms were progressing rapidly. Her tremors were severe and unpredictable, and she had developed significant cognitive impairment when we transitioned her to eating only whole unprocessed foods, fresh vegetables, grilled chicken, brown rice, fresh fruits, and home-cooked meals. Her improvement over 2 months was stunning. Her tremors decreased in both frequency and intensity. Her mental clarity improved dramatically, and she reported feeling better overall than she had in 3 years her family could. Not believe the transformation. And Patricia said she felt like she had gotten years of her life back, just from eliminating processed foods with chemical additives for people with Parkinson's who are looking to slow disease progression and reduce symptom severity through dietary changes. The 5 categories we have covered today represent the most important foods and substances to eliminate or drastically reduce. First, eliminate processed meats and limit red meat to occasional grass-fed sources, protecting your brain from oxidative stress and iron accumulation. Second, eliminate or drastically reduce conventional dairy products, which are linked to faster progression and worse symptoms, and switch to plant-based alternatives that provide calcium without neurological risks. Third, replace refined carbohydrates and added sugars with complex carbohydrates that provide stable energy and do not spike blood sugar. Fourth, reduce or eliminate alcohol consumption, which directly damages dopamine neurons, disrupts sleep, and accelerates cognitive decline. And fifth, avoid processed foods containing artificial additives, preservatives, and flavor enhancers that are neurotoxic and inflammatory. I know these changes might feel overwhelming, especially when you are already dealing with the daily challenges of Parkinson's. But here is what I want you to understand. You do not have to make all these changes overnight. In fact, trying to change everything at once usually leads to feeling deprived and giving up. Instead, pick one category to focus on for the next 2 weeks. Maybe you start by eliminating processed meats, or maybe you switch from dairy milk to almond milk, or maybe you replace your white bread and pasta with whole grain versions. Just one change, make that change consistently for 2 weeks, and notice how you feel. Almost certainly you will notice some improvement in your symptoms or energy or mental clarity, and that improvement will motivate you to make the next change. Then after 2 weeks, add a second change, maybe eliminating alcohol or removing processed foods with additives. Continue this gradual approach, adding one new change every 2 weeks, and within 3 months, you will have transformed your entire diet without ever feeling deprived or overwhelmed, and the cumulative effect of all these changes will likely be dramatic in terms of how you feel and how your symptoms respond. Remember, every single food choice you make is either supporting your brain health or damaging it. There is no neutral with Parkinson's. You are either feeding the disease or fighting it. And the beautiful thing is, you have complete control over this aspect of your health 3 times a day. Every single day, you get to make choices that either protect your brain or harm it. If this video has given you valuable information and practical strategies you can use, starting today, I want to invite you to join our Beyond Parkinson community by subscribing to this channel. Living with Parkinson's is challenging, and having access to reliable evidence-based information can make an enormous difference in your quality of life. We publish new videos every week, covering topics like nutrition, exercise, medication, optimization, emerging treatments, and practical daily living strategies, all specifically designed for people with Parkinson's and their caregivers. Our subscriber community is incredibly supportive, sharing experiences, asking questions, and offering encouragement to each other in the comments. Many subscribers have told us that the information they have learned here has been more detailed and practical than what they receive in brief doctor appointments, and that implementing these strategies has genuinely improved their symptoms and daily functioning. Subscribing is free and ensures you will never miss a video that could help you manage Parkinson's more effectively. Just click the subscribe button below this video and then click the bell icon to turn on notifications. That way you will be alerted whenever we publish new content. Thank you so much for watching today. Thank you for being willing to make difficult changes to protect your brain health. And thank you for being part of a community that refuses to give up or give in to Parkinson's. Remember, you have more control than you think. Small, consistent changes create powerful results over time, and we are here to support you with reliable information and practical guidance every step of the way. I look forward to seeing you in the comments below and in our next video, where we will explore more evidence-based strategies for living well with Parkinson's. Until then, take excellent care of yourself. Be patient with the process. And remember that every healthy choice you make is an investment in your future brain health and quality of life.